I think we have some big news today. Can you please address the rumors?
Which one?
You don't know which one?
No, I don't know which one.
What happened?
What happened? Well, I think we're announcing
$250 million.
Yeah.
Wow. With investment from OpenAI, how are you going to be working with them?
It's a direct investment from OpenAI, not the venture arm, and so it is an actual collaboration.
three major areas, I think, will be biology, chips, AI systems.
Brain control.
Not brain control.
Like World, you like to go after controversial spaces. Biometrics has also perked some ears up. What are the biggest misconceptions?
The biggest one is, of course, around privacy. What's so counterintuitive about what we're doing here is that we have designed a system that can be fundamentally anonymous and is fundamentally anonymous and privacy preserving. And biometrics, I think, is the only way to actually solve the problem.
Platforms like X will not be usable if they don't come up with completely new technical solutions.
How are you going to combat the bots?
It's not about combating the bots because that will be a lost cause, but rather every human on these platforms will need some version of a proof of human and actually prove that their content is authentic. And then we will have all the rest. The goal of this is to create the largest real human network on the internet because we think that will actually really matter. Because I think 99.9% or something of all internet traffic will be AI driven.
Alex Blania, welcome to Sourcery.
Thank you for having me.
So for people who don't know what World is World and what is the full stack that you're building?
Yeah, so it is the real human network. That's how kind of we were talking about it. So we're trying to imagine what real humans on the internet will need. And so it starts with a proof of human. And so these are actually the devices that do that. But the simple problem statement is that, as I mentioned before, AI has passed the Turing test and it can look like a human, it can talk like a human on the internet. And so we will need a proof of human for every place that we interact with other people. And that turns out to be a quite challenging problem. Like, it needs to be privacy preserving, it needs to be able to work in every country. So there's like many things around that we had to solve. And I think we came up with probably current technology, one of the best ways to do it. So that's part one. And then we always had this idea that, like, once we have proof of human, we can use that to bootstrap a financial network on top of that. And so we're working a lot on how to make kind of the crypto stack useful to everyday people. And so now we have the largest wallet in the world in terms of users, and we have a lot of people that use it every day, and so that's super exciting. So you have World ID, you have World Chain, which is the blockchain that everything is running on top of, and we have World App that makes all of that useful for people. And World ID specifically, I think you will see integrated with many of the large platforms that you're already using today in the coming months, maybe, if we're good. And yeah.
So like Merge, or I guess like World and Merge, you like to go after somewhat of controversial spaces. And so biometrics has also perked some ears up. What are the biggest misconceptions that you're constantly facing?
Well, I mean, the biggest one is, of course, around privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's so counterintuitive about what we're doing here is that we have designed a system that can be fundamentally anonymous and is fundamentally anonymous and privacy preserving. And biometrics, I think, is the only way to actually solve the problem. And I would need to go much deeper into why it is, but I think it is the only way to solve the proof of human problem on the internet. But the cool thing is, with cryptography and all the advancements that happened there over the last couple of years, you can build it fully anonymous and privacy preserving. But I think that's like by far the biggest misconception. Then there's like other things around, like, do we collect data, and is that our business model, and things, and that's basically just all wrong. Like the business model is, we think that this is a network, and so it has very strong network effects. And so we are very confident that if this keeps growing and keeps scaling, and many platforms start integrating it, this will be very, very valuable, and we will be able to charge fees on the network and things like that. But it's not the data of users, obviously. So that's another big misconception. Yeah, probably top two.
Okay. So we're just coming off Unwrapped, and you have released some new features and products to the world with World. Can you share some of those highlights? What are you most excited about?
Sure. So it was like very world app focused. Just taking a step back. The goal of this is to create the largest really human network on the internet, because we think that will actually really matter. Meaning, with the current AI progress and with everything that is happening, having some sense of real human interaction in every sense, like financially, socially, et cetera, will turn out to be like a really, really big deal. Much more than it seems today, because I think like 99.9% or something of all internet traffic will be AI driven. And so that's the high level. But we're working on World App, which is, so we're working on this network, and we'll talk more about that. But World App is our client for the network that we're building, and we're just like trying to showcase how this network will be useful. So the network is a decentralized protocol that we're working on, and we're trying to share with the world. World App is actually our product, our Tools for Humanity. We're currently Tools for Humanity company office, and that's our product that we're working on. And what we released, many new financial features. Paying with WorldCard, many new stablecoin integrations. So like basically in all the countries that we are operating with a lot of users, we have now 40 million users around the world, and so we're trying to support different countries, different currencies. That was a big one. We released World Chat, which is actually bringing all of those things together. So it's a kind of a chat within World App, and we have been super obsessed about the cryptography and the privacy side of that. So it's extremely private, but it also allows you to use all the other features of the network. So the financial side, soon there will come World ID features, so you can use deepfakes, what we call that, so you can actually verify profile pictures of each other, and much more. So these were two of the big ones. We actually showcased the Tinder integration, which was really funny, at least on stage. So meaning like within Tinder, and right now in Tinder Japan, it's already live. You can prove both that you are in fact a real human. You will be able to prove that these are authentic profile pictures that you're using, and you can prove your age. So all things that like really, really matter to make this a authentic dating experience. And you will see much more of that. So you will see like many big platforms integrating many of these different primitives that we're talking about. Somehow every week right now feels like Christmas. Like there's like so much cool stuff, and I'm really, really excited about the company, and I think the team is crushing it. But I think the really, really cool stuff will come in Q1, and we're already working on that. So I'm always one step already in the future. So the event was awesome. I think the team crushed it. I think the products are super cool. But Substance tomorrow is even cooler.
You've also hit some really big growth numbers. Do you want to share some of those?
Yeah, there's always two sides to that. Where like on the one hand we did, on the other side, we picked much bigger ones, and we were aiming much higher. So we're now, I think, 37 million users total, 17 million of which are verified. So they used one of these orbs, and yeah, there was like a lot of growth this year for that purpose. But the mission is to really get to everyone. And so everything below hundreds of millions doesn't mean much to us in some sense.
Sourcery is brought to you by Brex, the financial stack trusted by more than 30,000 companies, including 1 in 3 venture-backed startups in the US. Nearly 40% of startups fail because they run out of cash. Brex is literally built to help founders avoid that. Unlike traditional banks that let your money sit idle, chipping away at it with fees, Brex is designed to help you spend smarter and move faster. Their all-in-one solution combines checking, treasury, and FDIC protection into one powerful account. You can send and receive money globally at lightning speeds, get 20 times the standard FDIC coverage through their partner banks, and even high yield from day one. With same-day and even same-hour liquidity, access your funds anytime. Companies like Scale AI, DoorDash, ServiceTitan, Hims, Anthropic, Flexport, Robinhood, and Plaid trust and use Brex. Start today at brex.com/sorcery. That's BREX.com/sorcery. Turing is training the next generation of AI with tasks that require real expertise and real-world judgment. That's why companies like NVIDIA, Anthropic, Salesforce, and Gemini partner with Turing. Turing builds realistic reinforcement learning environments and data systems based on real operational traces, the kind of infrastructure frontier labs need to train superintelligence. Visit turing.com/SOURCERY. Yeah. I remember highlights from the presentation were hitting 16% APY on up to $1,000 in your account.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is. Yeah, people go nuts over that.
2 billion mini app users.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy.
Uses, not users.
Uses.
Yes.
Uses.
Big difference.
2 billion users would be a lot.
Yeah, see, then I would be happy.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. That's right. Mini apps was a big one, yeah. What else?
And then the chat encryption I thought was really cool. I was talking to Shane Mack after, and he was telling me about the rigorous integration process that he had to go through in order to make sure that the chat was encrypted and will be encrypted for 10 plus years so no one's leaking any information. And he had to prove solving Shor's algorithm or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Is this a typical process you put everyone through? Test their quantum skills?
Well, so we have like one of our core, so we have values and we have operating principles, and one of the operating principles is fail-safe privacy, because in some like that's the only way you could kill this company in a second. Like if like one engineer is doing something stupid and we would leak user privacy, basically in any form or shape, that would be so harmful to the project. And so like we are obsessed about privacy. And and we have a very, very technical team. We have like many cryptographers that, are excited to be here. So I think we're like on the very far extreme end on that dimension.
Between all of that, what are the verticals you're most excited about for Proof of Human?
So I think, like, just generally speaking, my mental model of this is that I think AI passed the Turing test, meaning it can talk to us on the internet, it can now generate videos, it can do everything that we can do, and it probably can soon do it much better than we can do it. And so what that I think means is that truly every place on the internet where humans are currently interacting with each other will start to break without such a technology. And not just interactions will break, but as a result, all the platforms that are built on human interaction will break. And so, first of all, that's quite bullish on the road. But second, I think the initial use cases that I think like make the most sense for this are obviously social networks, dating is a big one, gaming is probably going to be a big one, and there's like other ones that you don't immediately think of, and it's kind of a secondary effect. But like, for example, ticketing, things like Ticketmaster or something. Like, there's like a lot of artists that are angry about the fact that there's like bots buying all these tickets. But that's roughly how I think about it. And so I'm trying to spend time on each of these verticals and try to find the biggest integrations, and also try to understand what are the things about our product that need to change to make it kind of more useful to them. And so that's like a big time spent from my side now.
It's pretty crazy how fast the bots accrue. Like, I remember when Elon first got into Twitter, now X, and he reduced all the bots. It like really lowered the amount of traffic on the platform and everything. And then all of a sudden it is completely picked back up. I have bots following my account all the time. I'm sure there's bots all over Reddit. And then that'll affect like model research and all that kind of stuff because it's all fake. How are you going to combat the bots?
So, good question. I think, first of all, what I think the future will look like is much more of we will need to be able to distinguish what is a human and what is an AI. But I actually think we will probably want to have a lot of bots on our social platforms. We just need to know that these are in fact bots. But like, once you really have super smart AIs, and some of them like have are fine-tuned in different ways and talk about different things. That I think that's actually going to be quite fun and quite cool, and we will like that. But we will need to know that. Am I currently talking to an AI system that is like trying to change my political view, or am I talking to a human that is maybe also in San Francisco? And so like me investing the time talking about San Francisco city policy is actually time well spent. So that's kind of much more of how I think about the future, is like that I think it's not about combating the bots because that will be a lost cause, but rather every human on these platforms will need some version of a proof of human and actually prove that their content is authentic. And then we will have all the rest on the platforms. So there's that. And then to your point, I think like we are at the bare beginning of how all of this is going to look like, just because once you have true agentic systems and once you have these very kind of capable agentic systems also be open source, things will go like quite exponential. So I think we are still very, very early on the overall shape of how that will look like. So I think my personal prediction, I might be wrong with this, but I think platforms like X will not be usable in like a matter of months, maximum 2 years, if they don't come up with completely new technical solutions. I think what we're doing is very useful for that. Maybe there's other ideas that we are missing. But at least currently, I think it's the best idea that there is.
I think a big question a lot of people would love to hear about is how you and Sam originally met, and then how it evolved to World, and then now to Merge.
We originally met through a long set of random events, I think. So I grew up in Germany, and I did a lot of things there. I did these science competitions and stuff like that, and started a vertical farming company back then. And but nothing like really kind of big or something that actually. But then I went into science. So I studied industrial engineering and physics, and then within physics, theoretical physics, and within theoretical physics, I got quite lucky because kind of next to my university, there was a Max Planck Institute, and that just recently opened. Max Planck is in Germany is like one of the best research institutions, and the director for theoretical physics at that institute started working on deep learning and how you can apply deep learning to all kinds of physical questions, but mostly quantum systems. Quantum systems are very, very hard to calculate, especially if they're at scale, and there's so many interesting questions that come with that. So I started working on that topic, and then I went to Caltech in Los Angeles and continued my research there. And in parallel, actually, I applied to YC120, which was this conference that Sam hosted, I think just once. And the idea was 100 of the smartest students in the world would meet 20 top industry people or something like that. And you had to record a 1-minute video, application video. I did that. I got declined, and I was like super angry at that. And so I actually wanted to fly there and tell them that, but they were quite diligent about not sharing the address to protect against people like myself, I assume. I was never in the US before, nor ever Silicon Valley. Although I actually, I always wanted to come here.
Why? How did you get exposed to it growing up in Germany?
So I have this whole story about how I think how important that is, and how people in Silicon Valley always underestimate how important it is that Silicon Valley has this centralizing force on talent. But I think the main thing I can remember is, I was super young for the purpose of that discussion, 11, 12, maybe even slightly younger than that. There was an article. It was the title page of Der Spiegel, which is one of the largest German newspapers, and it was talking about Silicon Valley. And I was like,
I was obsessed with technology. I was like reading all these like technology books. My dad was the opposite of that. My dad was like an economist, and he always made technology sound like, not that serious, and you should do more serious things. But in that story, they were talking about this idea that there's Silicon Valley and there's all these people, all these technologists, they come together and they work on things that they think will change the future. Well, the story itself was actually very cynical. I was too young to really realize that, but their spiegel is like a little bit anti-tech. So it was like the underlying tone of the story was just making fun of Silicon Valley and like how funny it is that all these people think that they can actually change the world with tech. But I read this and I was like, this is awesome. I want to go there. And so basically, since from that time on, I knew I would go to Silicon Valley one day, and told my parents, told my friends. Everyone made fun of it, but it was kind of clear.
Hmm. And then through IC and everything, you got exposed to Sam. You became working together.
Yeah, well, and then like in high school, I watched all these YC videos and the interviews from Vnode and all that stuff. So I was on Twitter and all these kinds of things. And then actually what happened is I met Samo Buria, who you might know, a really cool guy. And he was at YC 120. I think Samo and Max, who was the other co-founder of World back then, were connected, and somehow that's how it came up. And so then I got an email from Max and Sam about WorldCoin with like a 2-pager that both of them wrote. So like both of them already were working on the project for like six or 7 months. And yeah, then I had many interviews with Max, and then I met Sam for an interview, and we kind of hit it off. It was like a multi-month process, and the idea didn't make much sense to me initially, and so I locked myself in the Caltech library back then, tried to make sense of it. Still didn't make much sense. So there was like many ups and downs. Almost declined the offer. I kind of already did, but somehow we figured it out, and then I think now Sam and I have worked together for 6 years, and it's just become better and better friends, and now I think we're pretty close friends and try to work on many things together.
And how do you both manage, for him, OpenAI, you for World? Well, I guess for him, OpenAI and World and all the other projects he's working on, and then for you, World, and then coming into Merge. How do you think you're going to lead these two companies?
So the first question about World and how we work together on that is I think we have a pretty good cadence of, we usually try to do it once a week. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I try to send Sam a kind of an in-depth update about anything that has happened in a week, and it's usually, it depends on how much time we have in the company, but it's sometimes like very in-depth. It's like 10 pages, all the major slides that have happened within a week, and we just talk through everything. And then my simple internal rule, and the cool thing is actually that like Sam would have been fine either way, but my simple rule is always like every major decision that I make, Sam should be involved in. So that is about like recruiting, strategy decisions, big spending decisions, etc. He has been super generous with his time on pretty much every important call that we had to do around fundraising or partnerships, integrations, all these kinds of things. So that's kind of how we're working, is trying to keep him up to date on the company operation like once a week, and then get him involved in all the big strategic decisions and work streams, which could be financing, partnerships, hiring decisions, mostly. And then for Merge, honestly, I don't know yet. I started waking up much earlier. and like,
how's your sleep?
I kind of said goodbye to my social and personal life completely. I never really had it, honestly, since the start of World, but like now it's gotten so extreme that I basically don't respond messages anymore. And it's just like 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time.
Rebecca said you're not going to make time for yourself until we reach singularity. I don't know the exact quote, but maybe you know.
Yeah, I mean that's the most. So to respond to the Merge question first, first of all, I'm not running Merge in that sense. I'm not the CEO of Merge, but rather we're a group of co-founders. So it's really structured like a research lab. It took us I think like almost 1.5 years to form the company. So we really spent a lot of time together. And so that's really working. But back to the singularity question, like this is like if you take a step back, the current moment in time is so crazy to me. It's just like this fact that we are probably in the last innings before superintelligence. If that means that if you are an individual that can make a meaningful impact on how that's going, or like, of course the pessimistic take is you cannot make any impact on anything. It's just like, this is just set on rails and superintelligence is going to happen, and whatever happens after, who knows? But that's at least not a decision I made for myself and for my life. I think this is like such a infinitely leveraged moment in time where any contribution you can make might make a meaningful impact. It might not at all, but it totally might. And looking back a couple hundred years, we've never had that. There was humans thought about these kinds of problems. Usually within a lifetime, basically nothing happened. You maybe had one scientific idea across the entire lifetime of a human, and much more so literally nothing happened. Just you were just working on the field, and right now it's just a very different moment in time. It's where every day something new happens. Every week there's a new big breakthrough, and I think that will continue. And so for me personally, I just make the decision that right now is not the time to spend much on the social life or all of those things. And I think I'm just going to go completely hardcore for the coming years, at least 5 or so. I might regret that, but so far it feels good. It's painful, but it just feels important.
Quick note before we keep going. I've been investing on Public for a while now, and it's a really solid platform that combines stocks, bonds, options, and crypto with incredible AI tools that let you do things like build a completely custom investable index from a prompt. Right now, Public will give you an uncapped 1% match when you transfer your portfolio. Check it out at public.com/sorcery. Public, investing for those who take it seriously. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in the description. Founders ship faster on Deal. Set up payroll for any country in minutes, hire anyone anywhere, and get visas handled fast so you stay focused on scaling. Deal takes care of onboarding, HR, IT, EOR, benefits, and compliance, so your team can grow without borders. It's why more than 37,000 fast-growing companies trust Deal to move fast. Visit DEEL.com/sorcery. That's DEEL.com/SOURCERY. A lot of, so I asked a couple people about you and in preparation of this.
Okay.
As I usually do, but it's nothing too scary. To describe you, there's 2 words. People say that you're very loyal and you're very futuristic, and that you also are driven by a really hard core set of values.
Yep.
So do you think that's accurate? And then what are your values?
I think that's broadly accurate. Futuristic is an interesting one because I think we will see if I'm right. I try to think a lot about the future, obviously, but I think many people say, okay, well, I do. I think the interesting question is, are you correct with your predictions? Which is the hard part. And who knows? I'm way too young to know that. But I'm loyal to very few people, or the bar is very high. I think if I have a close friendship, I'm very, very loyal, and I also just usually don't give them up. So I'm quite restrictive on my social circle. And so it's very hard to get in there, I guess. But I think that's how friendships should be. They should be deep and meaningful, and they should last many years. And so, yeah, I would probably say that's true. My childhood was not always the easiest in that sense that I was bullied and all these kinds of things. But I think the thing that I discovered for myself when I was around 15, 16 is that I could always get forward with discipline and with being perfectly truthful. And so a big thing happened back then where my best friend died, who was perfect person you could think of, honestly. Super honest, smart, and that inspired me. And so
From that time on, I have this long note, which is probably at this point, it's probably 100 pages about all the things that I believe in and kind of what are the core values and the principles that I try to live by. And so I'm probably erring way further on that than normal people do.
And you keep on deciding to go after harder and harder things.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important to try to go after hard things?
I think isn't it the purpose of life a little bit? I think it is. Meaning going after trying to be the best version of yourself and trying to take on as much responsibility as you possibly can is how I would probably describe the purpose of life, at least how I decided it for myself. And so you will probably keep me, I will keep doing that. I'll just try to do as much as I possibly can, which I think is going in the general right direction and which I think matters for humanity. And I will try to push myself as hard as I can to do that.
Who are some idols or people that have mentored you along the way that you look up to? You've mentioned Sam a bunch and he's part of your life, but who are some of those people?
A couple ones come to mind. I think or at least people that really inspire me. I will start with the people that I'm in touch with and then the people that just broadly inspire me. But I think Ben Horowitz, I think, is incredible and just has such a good sense and opinion about management and about how to think about people and how to think about companies more broadly. And so I think truly incredible. Vinod Khosla, is he was one of the few people that I was obsessed with when I was pretty young, when I was in high school, just because he took these very, very big bets and he was clearly in the hard tech land, which I found super inspiring back then. And for those two, actually, that's still the case. Meaning with both of them, I'm now in touch, and I think both of them, are just super wise and just know a lot of things, which is impressive. Elon is, of course, incredible. He has figured something out that no one else, I think, has yet. So quite inspired by that. I don't know him, nor, but yeah. So these I think these are the obvious ones.
Well, I think we have some big news today. Can you please address the rumors?
Which one?
You don't know which one?
No, I don't know which one.
I want to talk about Merge Labs.
Okay.
What happened?
What happened? Well, I think we're announcing Merge Labs, which is a research lab working on bridging artificial and biological intelligence to, do a lot of things that we think will be important for the future. And so we started working on it very recently. I'm really, really excited to have found the most amazing co-founders to pull this off.
Who's involved?
So it's kind of three camps coming together. That's kind of how it happened. It was Sam, Sandra, and me. Three of us working together since many years on Tools for Humanity and on other things. Then it's Mikhail Shapiro, who's a professor at Caltech and has been working on BCIs for 20 years. And is, I think, one of the most brilliant minds in that space. And then it's Sumner and Tyson, who were working on Forest Neurotech, which was a focused research organization. They were working specifically in ultrasound for neuro, but more broadly speaking, I think they're also just really, really strong founders.
And with this announcement comes funding. So who did you raise from?
A large group of people, but the biggest check was OpenAI, and then many of our friends. Some of the funds that have been involved here, many individuals. It's a broad, it's a large scale seed, but it is, from that perspective, it is a classic seed where you try to bring in all the friends and people along the way.
$250 million seed?
$250 million, yeah.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you.
So what is the mission behind Merge, and why is now the right time to go after it?
The mission more broadly is bridging artificial and biological intelligence to accomplish a lot of things that I think will be super important for the future. So agency, experience, freedom of people. And so it is about high bandwidth
brain-computer interfaces and the relevant AI systems that we think will make such BCIs like really, really useful. And so, the two big statements to make here. On the one hand, it really starts like a research lab, because we think that to get to high bandwidth BCIs that are able to have a lot of coverage and cover large parts of the brain is at this point very much a research question. We are like, we spent a year looking at everything, and we basically left convinced that none of the current approaches will actually get us there. So that's why it's a research lab. But the long-term goal is clearly to build products that people love and want to use, and people like you and me would want to use. So kind of the broader, like if you now look at a 15-year time horizon, I think it's going to be a couple of years of research, then a couple of years of medical applications, and like hopefully bringing benefits to a lot of people that really need such a technology, and then eventually get into kind of broad consumer applications. And why is now the right time? So first of all, like it's a relatively large founding team, as I quickly mentioned, just because in some sense there's like, we call it like three camps are coming together. Like the one camp is kind of, Sam, Sandra, and me, which is Tools for Humanity, but just like a friend group. Like we're not neuroscientists, obviously, but we were like super passionate and interested in the topic for a long time now. And so we spent some time on it. Mikhail, who I think is like one of the leading scientists in the space and just like super incredible person. And he is a professor at Caltech, and so has been working on these kinds of topics for like over 20 years. And then Sumner and Tyson from Forest also have been thinking about BCIs for like many, many years and have built a lot of cool things. So like basically like we're coming from a diverse background, but why the time is now is like, I think on one hand, AI progress is just not stopping and is continuing. And so there have been some new scientific results that are very promising that Mikhail got very, very excited about.
For people who might not know what a BCI is or what BCI is, could you explain what that is?
Oh yeah, sure. So it's a brain-computer interface. So something that directly inputs and outputs information into your brain and connects to your neurons. So the most famous example is obviously Neuralink from Elon. And what Neuralink is doing is having this robot that is inserting these threads into your brain, and they're able to do a lot of really cool things with that. So they can, they can give someone that was not able to move his arms for a very long time, now able to control the cursor and use a computer again, et cetera. So that has been like a standard application. But and there's more ideas, making blind people see again, or at least approximately. Science and Max Hodak have been working on that, which I think is also super cool. So, but that's the general idea. The general idea is like BCIs are all kinds of systems that can directly interface with the brain. And the long-term goal is that you get to much higher bandwidth than what we can do with a keyboard. Yeah, that's I guess that's the goal.
People are saying this is going to be the next major technological advancement for computing after the smartphone. Do you think that's accurate?
I'm like, I'm much more bullish actually. So first of all, I think that's correct. That's why we're kind of starting to work on this. But I'm actually also quite excited about AR and VR. So I would say that like if I could do a personal guess, I think like the AR VR step will be next, and then I think BCIs and kind of high bandwidth BCIs specifically is going to come after that. So I think it's going to be, the current smartphone situation, then you will have AR, VR, and then I think you will have BCI. That would be my guess.
What is the technological differentiation for Merge compared to Neuralink and these other companies?
A couple things without, trying to get too technical way too quickly. But for kind of the first, and I think it's a quite important statement, is
we really just care about the mission. And so we have multiple approaches that we will likely pursue. So we are, we have I think, a brilliant team of many of the smartest scientists in the world working on this topic. And we have this long-term mission that we go after. And, I think we will get there. But, we are not obsessed about a particular approach or technology. But the broad scheme that we think is probably most promising right now, with all the knowledge, kind of all the results that we see right now and the current understanding we have of the space, is that the combination of ultrasound and molecular sensors is probably most promising. And then you can both read and write in the limit with pretty much the entire brain.
Are there any applications you're excited about?
Maybe just so you get a sense, like the current BCIs that we're dealing with, they're all on the order of a couple thousand neurons that we can interact with. Actually neurons is not even maybe precisely correct, it's channels. So meaning this is what we're talking about here, if this really works, is a completely different level of BCI. And we don't even have the neuroscience for that yet. So.
With investment from OpenAI, how are you going to be working with them? Are there any collaborations there? Is this going to be seen as like an offshoot for research? How is this implemented?
Well, first of all, we will find out, given I think it's the first, this is like a first on many dimensions. And so it's a direct investment from OpenAI, not the venture arm. And so it is an actual collaboration. And, as we were talking through this investment, there were like many different dimensions that we thought could be interesting for collaboration. But I think there's like a lot we can learn from OpenAI and how to do that best. And so, yeah, 3 major areas I think will be biology, chips, AI systems.
Brain control.
Not brain control.
What do you think the biggest misconceptions are about BCI? I mean, a lot of people are going to use that in headlines.
I think it's the obvious ones. It's probably like mind control, like what you just mentioned. I think is a big one. All concerns around privacy. Like, if you actually think this through and you have a system that is actually able to access your entire brain, will a company be able to know what you're thinking, et cetera? So I think that's a big one. The third one is probably just because all the BCI systems that people are currently thinking of are so invasive. There's always this idea that BCI is, a quite maximally invasive, and you have to go through big surgery and things like that. So that's another conception that I think I've sensed when I spoke to people. The good thing is I think all of them are very solvable. I think, again, it's going to be a big feat of engineering, and there's going to be a lot of fundamental questions that we and others in the space will have to answer. But I'm very convinced we will be able to build systems that are completely provably, just the way they're set up, fully private, don't share any information with any outside service, are minimally invasive, are fully reversible, so you can just remove it if you don't want to, are upgradable, so you can get a better version if you want to. I think these are all the main things that we will have to figure out in the coming years once we kind of leave the research stage of that.
Alex, I have to ask, what is the most exciting thing in this office you're legally allowed to share?
Legally is an important addition. I think it's probably this one. This is it's the control panel of a Soyuz space capsule that, on a Saturday night, I tried to figure out what I should put in my house.
And this
this is and so I was looking at Sotheby's. I was never bidding at a Sotheby's auction, but there was a Sotheby's space auction, so I just went rogue and I bought infinite amount of space stuff. And so this is one of them, and this is the control panel, and this is actually quite famous for this one, because that's a spinning, that's actually how they navigate it. So it's a spinning Earth. And so now why this is disassembled is our security team is as you can imagine, they're quite obsessed with these things. And so now we actually try to make everything functional.
And so
Oh, so it works.
no, it's not working right now, but I think it should. Actually, over there's like the launch timer is on these books, on the Feynman books. But I think if you come back again in a couple months, I think everything is gonna glow, and maybe we are able to get the thing to spin again.
It's gonna go beep boop.
I'm not sure it's gonna be beep.
And this seems like it's really informed the design of the orb. I can see so much similarity.
Okay. Good for you. I can. No, I mean I bought it way later. The first orb was so ugly. Look at this.
That's not ugly.
No, the right one is very ugly. Like the silver one, I think is very ugly.
I like the silver.
You do?
Yeah, I like shiny things.
Well, that was actually the theory where like people like shiny things.
And they don't?
I think it just didn't help with the make it seem trustworthy. It didn't help with that. I think
Oh,
it just,
okay,
it
yeah,
just
you gotta make it a little bit more
seemed too sci-fi.
professional looking.
So we toned it
Okay.
down.
Yeah, I get that.
Tone it down. That's also why we have all this wood and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. So where did this come from? You got it at Sotheby's?
I got it at Sotheby's and it came out of a truck. Originally, I don't know where it came from. Like, well, obviously it wasn't a Soyuz capsule, so it comes from Soviet Russia. But I'm not sure who owned it before that. Maybe it might have been a museum. I don't know.
It's pretty cool. All right. This is legal. It's great. You have it in the office.
Yep.
And it's going to be working next week. We'll check back in.
No, it's gonna take. I think it's gonna take us a month, but you're working on it.
What are your biggest concerns for the future?
My biggest concern for the future? This is a deep question.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm actually quite optimistic.
Okay.
I think it's going to be like I think we can make it an incredible, amazing, exciting future, and I think that's my personal default. I mean, it would be something around AI misalignment and like something in that direction would probably be one, but that also seems to trend in a much better direction over the last couple of years. So
You're too optimistic. It's too hard of a question.
it is quite a hard question. I mean, there's obviously like a lot of potential downside scenarios, but I'm always just the next step is like, hey, we can probably solve it. We can probably fix it. So I'm just generally quite optimistic.
Okay, fair. All right, I think that's it. That's a wrap. Hey, it's Molly. If you enjoy our interviews, check out our newsletter, Sourcery.vc, where we deliver a once-a-week top deals and tech headlines email, and also go deeper on our podcast interviews. Subscribe to Sourcery today. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen. Link in description to sign up.